July 27th through July 28th of 2006, two storms that spread torrential rain over 3 counties, including Lake, Geauga, and Ashtabula counties, wreaked destruction totaling $30 million in damages. 1 fatality in Lake County, and over 600 Lake County residents were displaced by this storm. When I was filming this, it was a beautiful summer day, and the Grand River was so beautiful. But don't be fooled by its beauty. Mother Nature has a way of reminding us who's really in charge in this world. 20 years ago, this Grand River was a monster, and it wreaked havoc on this community. While filming this video, I actually ran into an older couple that were in their 70s, and they had no idea that there was actually a place where people lived here with condominiums 20 years ago. So I think it's important that this video was made just to create awareness when people are out enjoying their evening or afternoon at the park. We got to step back and realize that this was actually a place where people were living and enjoying their lives. And now it's here for us to enjoy in this metro park. All right. Welcome, friends, to Healy Park here in Painesville, Ohio. It's Friday, and it's July 24th. And in 3 days, it'll be 20 years since this area was hit by a devastating storm where not only the Chagrin, but the Grand River was overflowing with water. It was a devastating storm, and before this was Healy Park, this was Millstone condominiums, and many people lived here and grew up here and had their kids learning how to ride their bike here. And a lot of people that were living here were thinking this was their forever home. They didn't think that anything like this would ever have happened, but it did. 600 people, like I mentioned earlier, had to be evacuated from here. And this whole zone over here was all part of that complex. And the disaster didn't just start on those 2 days, the 27th and the 28th. It continued for many years, because eventually, you know, the city of Painesville wanted to buy the property and give a settlement to everyone, but it took a long time for that to happen. You know, in 2008, there were still abandoned buildings here that were still, and some of them were actually, people were still living here because no one had been able to get their money. Eventually, a settlement would be reached, money would be traded hands, and people would finally be able to move on with their life, but it took way too long. You know, even 5 years after the disaster, this area still hadn't been settled. I have personal experience with this disaster. I have a janitorial service, and I remember coming here not long after the storm and having to service someone who had their house damaged by the storm. And I come in there and I'm going through the house looking at, you know, their basement, trying to resurrect whatever things I could. But to be honest with you, the only reason why they hired me was because I wasn't going to turn it into the insurance, because I wasn't affiliated with insurance. I was going to give them a good deal on it, and I believe they did not have insurance. And that was a big problem for a lot of the people that lived here. They did not have proper flood insurance. They had insurance, but they didn't have the kind of flood insurance that would really make a difference. And when you're living right next to the Grand River, that could be a problem. And back in 2006, they really realized how important it was to have that insurance. Now, I didn't have the heart to tell them that it was a lost cause, because they still believed that, you know, that things would get better. But the more and more people decided they didn't want to live here anymore, the harder and harder it was for the people that stayed to continue to stay. You know, eventually you got to make a decision. I think that a lot of people were being offered money, like $90,000, just to take a check and get on with their life, but not everyone was satisfied. And the way the deal worked out, everyone had to agree with that deal, or there was no deal. That's my understanding of it. Now, put it in the comments if you guys know anything different about it. But the reason why this is so empty, like, it reminds me of the Coliseum in Richfield, where there's a big open field, and it's now turned into a park, you know, like the Cuyahoga County National Forest. You know, big open field where there was once life, where people were going and entertaining themselves, and now people were living their lives right in this pasture over here at Healy Park. You would never know that it was a thriving community at one time. And it's important, I think, to remember these things, because it shapes who we are, how we deal with these things. It makes us human. Okay, guys, this is a hard one to make, because I really do remember how this went down, and it was horrible for a lot of people. And I really don't, you know, I like to keep things upbeat, but this is one of those videos that the more you think about it, the harder it is to continue about it. Have a good one.
Mm-hmm.